An email saying that because of that he wasn't going to be here?
Well, he asked me, he just asked the question. He didn't say one way or the other, and I haven't heard from him, so he might show up.
Okay. Are we called to order?
Yeah.
Okay, call to order. We're here. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Shall we stand and
Yes.
recite the pledge?
The flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Like to start, Jen?
Here, Jennifer Rusk here.
Okay.
Sarah Torgerson here.
Everyone Spalletta here.
Steve Johnson here?
Mike Fossum here.
Renee Jeffries Heil here.
Veach, council liaison here.
Greg,
Pat Sheets, town staff.
okay. So Greg Holmes, is he,
I just got an email from him. He is on his way, so
Okay.
he'll be a little bit late, but we can, him is almost here.
okay. Alrighty, first order on the agenda here is review of prior meeting minutes. I didn't see any issues, I don't believe.
Good to me.
I didn't have any.
In there,
I do.
can I peek in real quick?
Sure.
Make sure Chad, I was thinking, sorry.
You see anything?
There was
Then
something.
I move we accept the minutes as written. Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries.
So just for the transcriber, sorry, who, if we can, whenever we do a motion, just announce
Everyone
yourself.
Spalletta moved.
And Renee
Nay.
Jeffries Heil seconded. Eventually you'll train us.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
That's right.
And just as a quick, if we can, before we get into the current items, if I can ask the chair for an additional agenda item for the review of the streetlight.
Correct. How do we approve that? Hi, Greg. We make a motion to do that?
Sir, please.
Okay, I make a motion to add the review of the estero lighting project request for proposal that was given to us by Chelsea to review.
Second that. Spalletta seconds.
The motion, so you, okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we'll add that to the agenda, the RFP.
Yep, perfect.
The estero street lighting. All righty, because that is due July 24th, she said, so it's their last time the group to provide input. Okay, so should we, public comment? Everybody here for public comment? Nope. Right on, and we'll go on to the next one. Let's hit the current items on the agenda. So the first item on the agenda, which I wasn't sure what that was, but Ed, can you give us some input on set committee goals to present to town council for direction?
Right, so typically these councils advise town council, so I think just short-term and long-term planning, what do y'all want to tackle as a committee, and then putting that to town council for approval.
You know, over the next 12 months, is that time frame?
Again, short-term and long-term, yes, ma'am.
Would you say this is our project list? Or what we'd like
Yeah,
to?
what you want to look at, what you want to review, what do you know, that we have a lot of marine resources on committee, so which resources do you want to prioritize and projects you want to prioritize? Obviously, the street light project has been prioritized for y'all, and we have some stuff that's carried over. Council's already assigned y'all landscape irrigation and water shortage ordinances. So just getting some direction. What you know, all of y'all bring something to the table, so what do you see, and get a consensus and then present it to town council for direction on it.
Okay. So just to clarify, this is really more or less what kind of project we'd like to work on, because typically we're brought projects by the town council to comment on, so these would be those, us, whatever else we feel like we'd like to work on. Okay. Would it be the easiest to put current items in? Jazz the street lighting? That's ongoing, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I think street lighting's already there.
Mhm.
We could certainly have that in the list.
The ordinance, the landscape, I think that'll be complete today, I would guess.
It's already
maybe.
been assigned to y'all, yes, sir?
Okay. Water-wise education, that's something we're working on. I think that's be on there, correct?
They'll decide as a committee.
Okay.
I'm not assigning.
Okay. Well,
The water-wise thing was something we addressed in council.
right.
That did come from council.
Right, I feel like that was directed toward us to come up with some type of a program to add to the notification that the water rates were going up, correct? Okay. That should probably be on there.
I think, Chair, that, you can just go around and see what's important to everybody. Or maybe make a list of what you're working on now. And if anybody has any ideas and things they want to try to add to the agendas.
Couple of existing things that I don't know are ongoing, or whether or not we have to continue to contribute to, but we've got the speed the speed zone reduction on the south end for the channel. I don't
That's
know.
in process with staff. I think, staff has been given direction on that, policy direction on that, so are implementing that.
Okay, so we're done with that, though. I mean, is that how you approach it?
Yeah, hey, we want this to happen. Staff is working on it. I don't know much.
Right.
Wait until the finished project and then.
Put it. Okay. Fertilizer ordinance, the outreach aspect, that's the PIO, or this, PIO, who's their communications? The official term,
Yeah, they came from council.
acronym, is it PIO? PIO. That's on her plate? Is that something you feel like we need to contribute to? So this would basically be the past fertilizer ordinance, but right now nobody knows about it. Say, meaning the fertilizer people, the landscapers, the homeowners, the condo associations.
So is it an education component where we need to educate people, or is it an ordinance where we need to draft something that says, sounds like we already have something drafted, this is just educating people that it already exists?
The ordinance exactly has been in place for maybe 3 or 4 months. I think maybe it was right before all this virus started. So it's been completed, but it's a best kept secret, I guess.
So who does information to the general public?
I think I did talk to Ms. Jen on that. That is on her plate.
Yeah, I would see that's a perfect, yeah, okay. So not necessarily anything we're working on. About a street lighting. Oh, if that's what's current, does anybody, any contributions to projects that they think we need to be working on or would like to work on?
Derelict vessels in the bay?
You talking about speed zones, Manatee?
Oh, the vessels that are abandoned,
Derelict vessels.
Oh, I don't know.
not sunk, all the way sunk.
I mean, I don't know, you
Halfway
you
sunk.
probably know more about that than I
Pretty familiar with
do.
the issue of that too, but it's basically
but
federal
the
property.
process, yeah, or state and federal, right? The whole sequence of events that have to occur before they pull it. but
Yeah,
also-
say our concern that we'd like to see what the town is doing about it, but I don't know what our role would be in it.
Holding it?
Or that are
we
getting,
We
making the,
encourage it and we'd like to see something done because it's polluting the waters, no question about it.
Right.
Sitting there, who knows what's dripping into the water.
Are there many, Greg? Are there many of these?
Oh, there's gotta be at least a half a dozen or
seems to be
more
more,
right
I
now.
feel like, in the last year or two.
Yeah, you just drive your dinghy around the whole circle and you'll count easily 6, maybe more. Last time I counted.
Now, you're
10.
talking about north, near
Then it
the
was down to 5 or 6, but somebody says there's more again.
red now, yeah, they're already all the way down by Fishtail, too.
At
There's a
least 3 out in
sailboat
front
there.
of me.
The state, my understanding, again, I didn't think it was the feds, I thought it was the state, I don't know what agency, but they're funded to do that. And I don't know if it's just a matter of getting preference,
Pretty expensive, around
screaming
50
for
grand
preference
a
to do it.
vessel. So, and the town gets hit with part of that, so it's a real issue.
They have to do a lot of research about the ownership of the vessel, correct?
Well, there's even issues of when you lift and take it out, if it falls apart and cracks
Oh.
in the water, now what?
Oh,
You got
I
a bigger
see.
mess.
Right.
It's not such a easy
There's
thing.
also salvage laws too, I believe, right? That you can
Nobody wants
actually,
those.
if
Although
you go through
If
that,
somebody wanted them, they'd be getting them right now. Nobody wants them.
yeah.
They're not salvageable.
I remember after Irma that the Coast Guard were pulling some out and storing them next to where they sell shrimp on San Carlos Island.
We could just ask the town for an update. Is there anything going on that, because I'm aware of nothing's happening right now.
We can put it on our list and look into it a little bit and come to the next meeting and see if there's something we can do or,
Is it the Coast Guard's job to pull them?
Well, they certify that as derelict, and then they hire a salvage company. And then they get paid if they get, my understanding.
well,
They get
possibly
contracted. I don't know if it's the town and who contracts.
be able to
what.
talk to Austin and find out what's really involved with that. He would probably, as the harbor master, right,
Yeah, you'll
be
know
up to
more.
date on what's involved, at least what's involved. And if there's
Yeah,
something
that
we
was
can
my
get
thoughts.
behind, then maybe we can do that if it's,
Yep, I've certainly talked to him about it. He's talked to me about it. It's definitely his purview. And, again, it's something for y'all. What do y'all want to bring to town council and discuss? And then I don't think we necessarily need to talk about it right now. It's just,
Right.
what's on y'all's short list. And then I believe every town council meeting, they ask for any advisory committees have any input. That would be the time to talk to town council, whoever y'all nominate to present y'all's priorities and findings and
I think, Steve, that this usually works on some kind of schedule where they get the complaints about the boat, but they usually wait until they accumulate a few boats before they're going to get a contractor out with all the gear to take them out and haul them out of the water.
Like
So,
5 or
you know,
more.
one thing you could potentially do is just get the information of how you report them, and then use the PIO or some other, you know, voting kind of groups to report them regularly, because the more reports you get, the more action they'll take.
right. You will. So how about if I do this? Here's, here's the purpose and the scope of our advisory board. Maybe that'll open your mind as to maybe what kind of things you want to work on. Broad objectives of the Marine Resource Task Force are to further the welfare of the citizens of the town by helping to promote a better, more healthful, safe, and attractive community environment to ensure that the unique and natural characteristics of our marine resources are preserved.
I know
Does
my,
that help?
yeah, well, I know my personal issue is the sunscreen education.
Mhm.
So that we start, that's I'd like to see us do something on that. At this point, because of, we can't ban it, you know, but there can be a huge education piece, and in other locales, the education piece has done a lot to start to stem the tide of things.
Do you have a list of brands that we could promote or educate people on what to buy and maybe get the local business to actually carry them?
Well, I think that would be the ideal way to approach it. There's 12, 13 chemicals that they've identified as not good for the marine environment. They're really not good for the human environment either. And so you're looking for the brands that don't contain that. And the Environmental Working Group has a list of ones that are safe. They're mineral-based sunscreens. And then potentially there's a way for us to work with, it feels like the best way to do this, because it's education and not policy, would be to work through the Chamber of Commerce to see if we can start to put education out there, and then put education out there to the hotels, the Airbnbs, the house rentals, so that people understand that, you know, spray stuff is really bad. Here's your list of, you know, it's like the fish cards that you get that says this is the best for you and this is the worst for you, and
Right.
everybody else is sitting somewhere in between.
Or even maybe like a end cap of Fort Myers Beach approved sunscreens, educational, you know, line of why you
Right.
should use this versus the ones on the aisle.
Sure.
It's an idea.
I think
Yeah,
we-
no, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the reality is to start to change people's perspectives, especially, I think it's, the easy piece might be to change the people who live here year-round. The harder piece is going to be to continue that education on a consistent basis for our seasonal residents and then as our tourists.
We can add it to the list. We don't have to decide
I'd like
today
to
what we're
add it
gonna
to
do
the
on it,
list.
but add that to the list, Chad?
Yes, sir.
I also have a picture I'd like to show you and put something on.
Is that for the discussion, or?
It's a goal that I would have, like,
Okay,
for
sure, yeah, something we
our
wanna work
committee
on.
to work on. It's maybe asking our town, not the base, but, the people that are out there, to perhaps carry a shovel. This is a picture of a loggerhead that walked up on the north end, or she crawled up on the north, and that was actually a false crawl, not a nest. And there was numerous big, deep holes. It was 5 south of Dakota. She got stuck. She fell face forward right into this hole and struggled quite a bit to get out of it. She did get out and went off. I would like a goal for maybe the towns, so the people, whether it's, the employees or just, anybody, maybe we can get a group together to walk and
It's a huge public safety
do they
issue.
have a
And not
shovel?
only that, but I have fallen in some of these holes
Sure, no, I
before and
mean-
almost, hurt myself. So, whether we get the town employees to carry a shovel, so when they're picking up garbage and they come across one of these holes, not only to educate the beach goers, but also if there's no one around and it's early in the morning or late at night, if they're out there, to have a shovel on hand to be.
I think I kind of see us approaching that, which I think is a big deal, because I've fallen in the holes and I know that they're not good for the turtles either, is a combination of how do we fix the ones that are there, but also how do we start to educate people that it's okay if your kid wants to try to dig to China, right? But then try to, fill back in the hole because
Right.
they're not going to get there.
Right.
And it's along the lines of the sunscreen education and, lights out education and,
It's actually written in most of the signage.
My question should be, I mean, the people around the beach now driving their 4x4s, because I walk the beach every day, 4 miles. So I'm from the one end Pink Shell going all the way to where Junkeroos is. So I see like 3 or 4 holes. I passed 4 of the 4x4s today. So the question is, do they have a shovel on their thing? And if they see the hole, can there be instruction or the town to say maybe they should go fill the hole up?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a simple solution.
We've talked about
Thank you.
this
That's
previously, yeah. I brought it up last meeting, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's most logical and would be the simplest. I mean, I'm sure they're not asking for stuff to do, but I mean, you can get out of the cart every so often and fill a hole if you have a
They
shovel.
do a great job in picking up garbage, and I think if they, saw something, a picture like this, they
It's
would.
a public safety
Exactly,
problem.
public
I mean,
safety, animal safety.
small enough, a lot of people kick them in themselves. I mean, I would, but if they're big enough, you just ruin your knees trying to.
See, I mean, she really struggled there for a while. She turned get out of it, and then
I think Bill had one by his house that was big enough to sit in, right? They had made a huge
Yeah,
hole and
down
put a
by
bench there. and-
Junkeroos, had steps.
Then would it work if we on Turtle Time reported these problems and then asked them to be addressed? Rather than just saying,
No, I don't know if
pop out every 5 minutes and fill in a hole?
I don't know if, that would be something that I don't like to step on Eve's, toes. That was something that she, as a Turtle Time, founder should, or maybe come up with a plan, but not every volunteer, like you said, the last meeting, we have a lot of volunteers from all over. Not everyone has a phone number. Like I've got lots of the town's guys' phone numbers that I can call, but not everyone does, so that would be probably
If
up to
anybody who
Eve.
sees it could just tell one of us who would then forward the information to
That's not a bad
Austin
idea.
or anybody who's there.
Bad idea.
And I don't mean, and I think absolutely we need it. I'm 100% for it. I don't see how these guys who already have their schedule, we can't expect them to hop out for every little thing that the kids do. And we need them to respond to these big things. And how can we address that problem specifically?
I think, like Greg said, that I think if we can ask the town to the guys that if you see a hole, or you have a shovel in the back, just fill it in. I mean, it didn't take that
That
long,
seems
maybe.
reasonable.
It's really straightforward, yeah. Who would we approach with that? Would you approach the head of,
You advise town council.
okay, we'll put that on our list to advise on, okay.
But
And
couldn't
based on what
the
you're saying, I
turtle time
think you-
people help fill in the holes too?
They do, I mean, but some of the, there's big ones, I mean, it takes.
I mean, but if everybody is working on the same thing, a higher chance of success.
Oh, sure.
Instead of saying, you do it, no, you do it, no, you do it. If
Everybody,
everybody,
every day when he walks, he does
and
it.
if they see the turtle time people and the other people doing it, you might get the tourists doing it too, filling in the holes.
Well, our temporary sign program around this time of year, we actually have signs that say, please fill in your holes. It's turtle season and,
I'm already out on the beach picking up people's trash every morning. There's no way that I'm gonna be filling in holes that some 10-year-old, and some parent wasn't responsible enough to say, let's fill that thing in before you leave.
I would walk,
Let's
walk,
I think
things, and we're already carrying stakes and hammers
Yeah.
and stuff. We
The
can't
thing is,
carry
with a shovel, it
a
would take
shovel either.
a couple minutes. For
Right.
normal holes, it wouldn't even take you a couple minutes, I think.
Exactly.
and it would be good if the guys would do it. I know they're awful busy. I'm sure
Yeah.
that they add a little bit more to their workload.
I'm not saying the typical sandbox holes. I'm talking
Exactly,
the
right.
big
All those big-
holes are dangerous for pedestrian or visitors.
People in the evening
people
too,
walking
there's a lot of people that walk at
on
night.
Those big turtles, so.
We ask them not to use lights, so it makes it even more dangerous.
Yeah, so I would like to put that.
But we need to address that problem.
Okay.
However they want us to address it,
We'll add it.
we will.
Thank you.
Recommendation of town, okay.
One kind of potential course of action I would look at, because, like I said, I've gone out and filled these holes, and I've even got a special big old hoe thing that I use. It's tough, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't know if the guys could really, I think there's some holes that they just couldn't do, but what would be probably a reasonable thing to do is to organize Turtle Time with Eve, have a central reporting way to say where the problematical holes are for turtles, send that to the town, and then direct the staff to, as part of their user priority, because some of them require, equipment more than a shovel.
Duly noted.
I mean, you could put a plow on some of the,
Don't want any more raking and plowing if we can.
for the holes.
Little shovel in the front, little blade would do it actually, but again, how many are really that huge? I'm telling you, with a shovel, it's a couple minutes work, I'm telling you.
There's quite a few. We lose a dog in them. Because
Oh, I know.
she's
There's
interested
plenty of
in
them.
them because of whatever they dug up at the bottom, and she hops in them and runs around and.
Right, any other additions?
But advising the town about that problem, we also need to advise them about the problem we have with beach furniture. We have the situation now where we tag them, and if people choose to ignore that tag, it's still there the next day.
So
Is
we need
there-
a,
Is there some way to tighten it up so that beach furniture, the same beach furniture, won't be on the beach 3 mornings in a row?
that's worthy of a project, sure. We can
So
look
that,
into
on
that.
that, Miss Mary Rose, I would encourage anybody who sees furniture on the beach at night, take a picture and send it to me, chad@fmbgov.com. If it's condo furniture, I will cite them. If it's, tent and chair, I've been out there and I put my red lights on the furniture that I'm about to put into the thing. I start taking out the tent and all of a sudden they run out and, hey, oh, well, is this not allowed to be? No, it's not allowed to be here. Do you want me to take it or do you want to take it?
But yeah, well, then you can scratch that, because Ed has been doing
That's-
what he says he's gonna do, and I'll send you those.
For the
photos.
condo stuff, if it's condo furniture, absolutely
Yeah.
send that to my email address. Make sure you take a picture, give me an address.
Yeah, well, I
taken
know
care of.
exactly who it is,
Can I
because
give you like, send the Google or Solocator, or which is better for you?
So the picture Solocator image is good as well, but just to streamline it, if you can also include an address, condo name.
So if I send you like a Google map, if you tap on it, it'll come up with the address. Is that okay?
As long as it's accurate, but you writing it down is even better, but yeah.
Okay, gotcha. What about people sleeping? I walked Zone 2, which is Palm. I think I came across about 7.
But it's not allowed by ordinance.
So do I take?
At night,
people?
I think that's a Lee County Sheriff's Office issue,
Okay.
I believe. But I'd need to
We're
ask about
finding
that.
a lot of, I'm noticing a lot more people sleeping. Dies.
To your town council.
I mean, all the anchored boats and even moored boats, what about that, assuring that they're doing pumping out instead of dumping out? I mean, I don't know, there's a couple boats I know have never moved in the 5 years I've seen them, down in by Fishtail and stuff. And I don't know if they're getting pumped out, but how do we assure, all the anchored boats as well as the moored boats? I know they're supposed to be tagged, but who's doing that and is it up to date?
If you're in the
Master.
mooring field, it's required so many pump outs a week, they have to do that. Austin's on top of that, but if it's outside that, then I guess that would be us, the Marine Resource Task Force, because Andrewsmith has no control outside the mooring field. So
Wouldn't the
that,
marina-
we will pump them out though, they can get the $5
Sure.
tag and get them pumped out, we offer that to everybody, that's great.
Be better if we just said it was free? Having all that going into the bay versus $5, I would rather my taxes and.
I think there's a
pump
reason
outs.
for that. I think, didn't they come
Well,
up?
that's all federally funded, you just
The
have to
past
talk
meeting?
to Roger, to have to answer that, or I can talk to them why we're charging them $5, I said
Austin
that
came to a meeting.
No, that's,
years ago.
doesn't
Commented
cover
by
the
that.
cost.
Oh, the
of
cost is
course not.
provided through a grant.
I
I
mean,
think there was something. Austin was here at a meeting a couple months ago, wasn't he? Or maybe right before the virus? During the the speed zone reduction, that came up. And for some reason, they have to charge them $5. I can't remember.
There's kind of another point too, like you say, if the boats are on anchor and they
Weird,
don't
yeah.
move,
Pretty low, I mean, some people, privates are 25 to 50 bucks, so $5 is, people think that's a steal, it's great. And you can go get a coupon, like 10 of them, so you don't have to be running in all the time, getting one at a time.
just a point, I know this is a bit of an issue, is that the boats that don't move, that are outside the mooring field, means the town has to go out to them. You don't know whether someone's going to be there, whether they need it or not, so there's a bit of a logistical issue with going and chasing boats all up and down the channel that are not in the mooring field.
Aren't they supposed to have a plug in their system and it's supposed to be tagged so it could be readily identified? So I read in one of my
do you mean?
magazines.
A plug.
Plug in where it would jump into the water.
Oh, it's more than that, it's a huge marine issue. The Coast Guard can inspect
I
that by
mean-
law. But you have to have a certain handle that's not easily accessed and another button away from that handle to push, so you can't sit there and just dump it really easy.
Right.
No, it's like you gotta stop the boat, or somebody else gotta run your boat, run down there, turn the seacock open, right? Make sure it's flawed, and then you gotta go up, turn on another button, I do, and then I have to hold another button until it's done. I can't just let go of the button, let it run on its own. I gotta keep and hold that. And that's part of the rules on your boats. So it's not like that easy, you're just gonna quick dump it and get away with it. I mean, if you don't have that system, you can be fined, because that's not a legal system then.
Something we want to investigate and look into, see if there's something we can do.
I think that's protecting the water, and I
Yeah.
think there's potential of a lot of things going into the water we don't want to be in the water.
Yeah, well, even part and parcel to that, we had Leon Moyer come in maybe a year ago, educating us on the systems that are still technically legal, which are self-sanitizing systems technically that must be an electrical current, something that kills all the bacteria that allows them to dump into the bay. And he said, these things aren't maintained. Who knows if the technology is even good? Right now, legally, they can do it.
any
And
inspection
there's no
process.
inspection process, there's no,
True, but I'm aware of anybody has that or claims they have one.
I can't
Austin would
remember,
know
I can't
that, but
remember.
last I heard, that we don't know if anybody has one of those.
I don't know if
I
you
thought
remember that.
Leon said he had one. Didn't he say
Coast
he
Guard
had
I don't know if
approved.
he had one or said that that
Well,
was
whose
legally.
responsibility is it to check those boats? Is it, who sees that they maintain those rules, Greg?
Coast Guard, FWC has jurisdiction.
Federal property.
FDEP, maybe, no?
Town really can't do it, it's federal property.
Right,
Oh, you
but
could-
maybe if we have the okay of the town, we could write a letter to those entities and say that as the Marine Resources Task Force,
Be
we
the-
would like to be updated on how they deal with this, and,
Hey, really, right?
I know it's a priority for Austin. It's been talked about a lot.
yeah,
It's a priority, so.
right, so we can get him on the letter too.
Well, maybe it'd be possible to have Austin come in and talk to the committee and say what he's doing first before we figure out where we're going to go from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Again, I think the purpose of this agenda item was to discuss y'all's goals to present.
So let's add that, work on those boats.
Got that on the list?
Yep.
Maybe we ask Austin to come to one of our meetings and he
We'd be happy to.
can say
Put a lot
what,
of
from
clarification.
the outside, yeah, because he doesn't full-time work for the Anchorage, I mean, for the mooring field, that's only part of his job, so he probably has responsibility everywhere around.
They give
I
us
don't know.
direction too, where we can go to start.
Yeah, how we can,
Start our investigation.
yeah, how we
figure out-
can help support.
Yeah. Tell us what he knows and what we could do, and in terms of advising the town council, a step to go forward on that with the local police or the Coast Guard.
For educational, I don't know how many of the transients know there's a $5 pump out.
In the paper, it's advertised, I know that.
But that's, I
Most
mean,
boarders are
there's a
pretty
fair amount of
familiar with it.
education pieces that we could definitely take on, and
Got two more on my list here that have been long-term. One of them was the, when they do Big Carlos, when they redo the Big Carlos Bridge, which is what, a couple of years, I guess, right? Pretty much when the road project starts, they start the bridge, is to get that bridge rubble for an artificial reef offshore here. But I think you have to start early and get the permits and them know to keep clean rubble and how to manage that. I think we can, a lot of people behind us on that.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, I think so. And have them right out here, because there's also, usually they'd like to put a diver down to make sure they're on a limestone ledge or something, so it doesn't sink into the dirt, you know, into the mud. And the other one really was just that in the Big Carlos Bridge design, I'd like to see him leave a fishing platform there, you know, since bridge fishing is such a Florida thing to do. So probably not unlike the Mantanzas Pass Bridge, where they've got, you can walk out and actually fish the channel.
Sure, that sounds like a good
So
idea.
that would have to go into the, obviously, to the county or the state, whoever's building the bridge.
Well, if you're going to address council on our plans for this year, I think that in general, we can say that we want to work on the improving the vegetation on our beach. And there are several different things I'm thinking of here. The invasive plants that we have. I'm thinking about, you were thinking about if we're still writing articles, we have Australian pines and Brazilian peppers and things we can advise people that are not to the benefit of the beach. We need to think about what trees to plant, and we need to consider the beach vegetation in terms of raking, and raking our beach as little as possible, getting the beach to re-nourish itself and grow as naturally as possible. But I think in general, Steve, if you just say that we're going to continue to address this vegetation situation in a number of, not only invasive, but also we want to encourage native plants. You know, there's all different ways that we're going to approach this. In general, it's all the greenery, all the things that are growing on our beach. We want to make sure that they're the things that enhance our beach.
Good list here.
we have to prioritize what is, do we have to identify what we think is a short-term versus a long-term, or can we just give a list and?
And I don't think we necessarily need to finish this today. I just wanted to put it out there. Council doesn't meet till August, and I'm sure the first August meeting will be pretty heavy, so have some time, us and refine it and prioritize. I can give you some feedback on these on the next one. I mean, it's all great stuff, but that's the whole thing. I mean, there's a lot of problems and not as much time.
Right. Okay, shall we go to the next item?
Yes.
To vote on anything?
What, you want to read us your list?
Sure, I can do that. We've got existing projects, Estero Boulevard lighting, reduction zone is ongoing, fertilizer ordinance outreach is ongoing, derelict vessels, look into what needs to be done to get those removed, on-screen education was from Renee, that for earlier one was from Greg, fill holes in the beach, up with a program there, Jennifer, beach furniture, was an issue.
Right.
We wanted to look into a little bit.
Right.
Mary Rose. Pump outs, also Greg thought that could be we need to look into. I've got also invasive species is how I ended up writing. I said,
Good.
Good. More, but Mary Rose, and then we've got the Big Carlos Bridge rubble, artificial reef long-term project there. Fine. And the fishing pier, that's right. Architect. All right, anything else? Any,
Plenty to talk about there.
Did you mention
work
the sleeping issue on the beach?
Oh,
I thought that was a Lee County
I mean, is that something we
issue.
can
Just-
do?
I just-
I'm looking,
that's-
I almost feel like it's out of our scope
Yeah.
a little bit as far as, that's law enforcement to me, that's Lee County.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
Really, that's, the town really can't even
I
do
just
too much
brought it
about
up
that,
because
can
I
they?
wasn't sure.
yeah. Along those lines, I've seen more Lee County sheriffs on the beach in the last 2 weeks than in a long time. Like even today, there were 2 of them in a jitney going down. That's positive. Maybe we can continue that, Jen.
Across 4 sleeping people, one
This
right
morning?
at home, just this
Oh, my
morning.
goodness.
Actually, the other thing, and I don't know if this is, might be added, is how do we keep Lee County from driving their four-wheelers through the critical wildlife area? We've seen it personally, but a lot of people have seen them driving back there now.
So I've
It's
spoke
illegal.
I spoke to FWC's, and made her aware, the lady in charge, Michelle Van Devonshire, made her aware of the issues, and they have their own liaisons with law enforcement that they, through those channels.
Out and walk like everybody else, right?
You know, it's kind of no good deed goes unpunished. Sometimes you need enforcement over there, whether it's dogs or some sort of, public safety issue. So it can be tough. I think if they're on the wet sand and driving appropriately, I know it's during shorebird season, especially the early nesting season, it is an issue because the chicks and the birds and all that near the rack line. It's one of those, it's a tough kind of darn if you do and darn if you don't issue. As long as we're giving guidance, I know they're getting guidance from their end, and I'm certainly giving our guys guidance from our end on beach driving guidelines.
All right, well, let's move to the next, shall we?
Yes.
Year-round landscape irrigation and water shortage ordinances. Pretty good chance to take a peek at those. So shall we look at first the water ordinance? Is basically it's broken up into 2. There's the general water ordinance, and then there's the water shortage ordinance. There's a water conservation ordinance, and there's a water shortage ordinance.
It's printed out.
Was 10, I think.
Something like that. It was also,
I do have some
2010
copies.
was the regular.
Pull it up on my,
number, yeah, 20, yeah. I
I'd
didn't
rather
write
if I
the
can take
numbers down. I
notes.
didn't write the whole thing out.
Take notes on these.
Yeah, I don't have
Just make
20. I only
notes.
printed out 30, 50.
The only thing I thought was strange, for the regular timed watering, their fines were higher than if there was a shortage.
There's 2 fine structures. Yeah, I have that question too. Why are there 2 different fine structures? One is $150 a day. And it's, if you're a repeat offender, it's $500 a day. That's for the water conservation ordinance on page 9. On the water shortage ordinance on page 4, it's first offense $25, second offense $100, third offense $250, and fourth offense is $500. But it's a one-time fee. So there's not only is it different amounts, but it also is delivered differently and per day. So, and these are both the model ordinances, correct?
Yes, sir.
So,
At on the penalty section D, it's up to 250 and up to 500 day per violation.
per day, right?
I do understand, if you're in an emergency situation, you think it would be more severe.
It's just, I would
Right.
think times of short wattage, water, that the fines would be higher than as the routine.
Right.
And
it's
also,
not.
and also they're just different. Like I said, different structure. One is per day and the other one is structured first offense, second offense, third offense, fourth offense.
It'd be better if they were the same.
I
It would be cleaner.
Yeah, I think it'd be cleaner.
think it'd be easier to
Would
understand.
it work, or is it unfair?
Well, here to advise, y'all tell me.
Okay.
I would think it should be the opposite. If there's a shortage of water, the fine should be higher.
Higher fine, that's what I would think, common sense.
And then for routine watering, still should be a fine, but, I would think less,
If we want to harmonize them, let's,
or all be the same.
first you want it per day versus just first, second, third, fourth offense, single fine?
I don't know if they can do it. I mean, how would they,
What are we talking about?
the 2010 is per day and 2011 is per violation. I mean, how they normally do things, or?
So in 2010 would be the typical, it leaves a little bit more discretion. We would give a warning, education first, and then follow up, whether that be a $100 violation or a $250 violation, just kind of depends on how egregious the offense is. D is, 2010 is the more typical language that I've seen. The 2011 was kind of more following the consensus, what I've seen, or what the Water Management District published for statewide. They have a whole review. I'm not sure if any of y'all reviewed the South Florida Water Management District. On that page, they have a review of what all the different municipalities and localities, counties, et cetera, their typical fines.
I didn't see that.
Forward it to you.
I
This kind of just follow the typical structure.
just think from an administrative standpoint, one structure is
Easier to
better to
enforce.
have two separate fine structures, and
I like the idea of one structure because it's consistent, but I think the penalty, I agree, I think the penalty should be bigger if we're in a water emergency than it is if we're just trying to get people to be good stewards.
Yeah, that makes sense, Renee.
Does anyone have a proposal?
make a motion. Make a motion that we harmonize both 2010 and 2011 or for 2010, structure stays the same, 50-day, repeat 500-day, and for water shortage, under water shortage, doubled under the same structure.
I like it. Second, Renee
It would be
Jeffries.
$500 a day?
Well, up to 500 a day and up to 1,000 a day, right, for a second offense?
It seems excessive.
Or do we change?
We really, yeah, but maybe it's not.
I mean, I think it's, if you're trying to drive the message home that you have to conserve the water,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Right.
Then I think you want to have steep penalties, and I think you want to have steep penalties, especially when we're in a water shortage position.
Actually, the penalty should be the deterrent. It isn't that you're going to pay that much, just wise up,
Yeah.
you don't have to pay it.
Okay, so let me make another motion. That's my first motion.
Sir?
This motion is that for 2010 water conservation ordinance, we actually make the fine, we adjust the fines to $100 a day and a repeat offender $250 a day. Now, that's less than
The 250 and 500, I believe that comes from state statute.
model, right? You can't be less, but you can be more, correct?
Right,
You can
and
be
then,
more
I mean, if-
stringent, you can't be less.
It's not to exceed.
Why don't we make them the same on both?
You making a motion?
I make a motion that the fines for water violation be the same on both ordinances.
When are we following?
I get, if we have to follow 2010 and make, that's the gold standard.
Yep.
I second it. Johnson seconds motion.
Sounds good to me.
Shall we vote? All in
Can I ask a
favor?
question?
Oh,
Sure.
I'm
now
sorry.
discussion. Wait.
So I'm, I've been here about 7 years. Can I just ask a question? So the town of Fort Myers Beach, we get the water from Fort Myers, correct?
You say yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are we fined if we go over an excessive amount of water or how does that work?
I'm not sure. I don't know what kind of, if we have quotas or regulations, or if there's some kind of step-up system where it's more money for more water. That would be more a Christie Court question.
Because that's interesting to me.
I mean, the other question I have is, should there be a differential between people who use a well versus people who use city water?
We don't.
Underwater shortage.
If you're using a well, doesn't it, I mean, on both, it percolates back into the system. As long as it's not going into the canal.
Do we have wells on the island?
I have a
We do
well.
have wells,
Yeah.
yeah.
We have a well.
It was, I asked,
down.
asked our speaker, Phil Flood, is that his name? About that, about private wells, and the point is there's no surface water. So if you pull your water out of your well, it's gonna pull water from someplace else, right? It's gonna,
From the aquifer.
the aquifer, you're right,
Yeah.
so,
I guess, I mean, water's water, and if you're excessive, then
right. Right, I think underwater shortage, you don't use any water, period,
Well, I think except reclaimed water. So if you have rain barrels,
except for reclaim, yeah.
and some of that's, you can do whatever you want with that. The wells are the same as,
Yeah, or gray water, which we don't have that system on the island.
I guess they're getting penalized anyhow if they use city water because it's a rate.
Right, right. So we have a motion and a second.
So we're saying the fines will be what then? We're
To
suggesting,
repeat it, the motion was to follow the fine schedule for the water conservation 2010 ordinance and duplicate that for the ordinance 2011 water shortage of fines of up to $250 a day and repeat offenders $500 a day.
50 and 500. Thank you.
So let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And zip.
Sorry.
Very good. Now we're talking.
Most sorry.
Also in regards to the ordinances, I don't know about here, how many people wash their car, but up north, water shortage, you're not allowed to wash your car. I didn't see that in the ordinance.
Right, so the specific stipulations, my understanding, and we just went through, I went through my first one this past March when we all did, but those stipulations are typically in the declaration and the conditions that follow that declaration.
Okay.
So if you read the ordinance, I mean, it's basically that we're going to follow and enforce that declaration of water shortage, whatever that. So this past one, for instance, they had a whole bunch of stipulations, but it was water 2 times whatever it was.
Correct, it was 2
Therefore,
times a week, yeah.
we enforce that.
Okay. So under water conservation on 2010, I saw on page 5, under the water resource heading, is it clear that you need to add private wells? There it says, it insinuates it, but for clarification, because I find that's the number one question. It's a water source, so people always say it's managed differently. So,
Yeah, I mean,
It's on or beneath the surface of the ground. That's a well.
okay. I mean, I'm just wondering, do you need to tell people well, or are they saying, is this
says
my
well
pond in
somewhere.
the back yard or whatever? Well, someplace further down, but question.
Going beneath the surface of the ground. The well.
Okay.
You wonder why they didn't just say well. Because,
Somebody would say, there's not really a well, it's really something else.
Yeah.
They'd make it.
And in the same kind of clarification on page 8 of 2010, under additional requirements, do we actually need to it says using technology, again, does it help to spell out that what they're looking for are rain gauges or soil moisture sensors? That's what they're suggesting now. If you install irrigation, you have to have a rain gauge or a soil moisture sensor so that you're not irrigating in the middle of a thunderstorm. Wasting water. Is that fair enough? That just you have to have technology, or do you need to tell people what that means?
I can't see it now. I thought somewhere it said that was a state mandate.
I don't think you want to call out the type of technology because technology evolves so quickly.
Yeah, well, i.e. I
No,
guess
but
is
they
what I was
say
gonna
you
say,
can
as
find
an
if you
example.
overwater, and that would be overwatering.
Watering in
Say
a
that
rainstorm
if
is
you
overwater.
overwater, you can be fined.
So you
If your sprinkler system's going on in the middle of a rainstorm, I think you're overwatering.
it happens
sense.
everywhere. It happens
Yep.
all the time. I mean,
But you can't, you could be gone and you have an automatic system and
well, if you have a rain gauge, it won't turn on. Is the
it would
point?
shut it off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it overrides
Oh,
the
just like your AC, it gets a little water in it, a little floater clicks it off.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
a little wireless thing you
Yeah,
put
yeah.
on your gutter. I
a
have
little
one.
ceramic, little cup almost, right?
I have a 10-year warranty on the battery.
I don't think we got
Wow.
one, but I'm gonna check on that.
No.
It's a little
Oh, that's a
wireless thing you
cool
put on your,
idea.
up high, and then it hooks up to your controller.
what do you call it, Greg?
Rain sensor.
It's a rain
That's all it is, a rain
gate,
sensor.
yeah.
That has like a floater switch in it, right?
No, it's actually a ceramic, or there's no moving parts.
How does it know to shut off?
I think it's got just a moisture detector and a ceramic.
I think it
Moisture
closes. I think it
detector. Yeah,
closes a
it's something to
circuit.
shut it off, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, not like I know what you're talking about with your air conditioner float switch. So that doesn't need any clarification. I'm okay with that. That's all I had. Oh, the only other question I had was this Division 2 water shortage plan. It's kind of like an extra document that's floating out there. What's the importance of that? Definitions on it, but is that supposed to be included in the ordinance?
which page are we referring to?
This was a
Separate
it was
document.
like a separate document. It's called Division 2 Water Shortage Plan on the heading of it.
And it says section 30-50 definition.
Oh, so this is what's existing,
That's existing,
this is
that's
our-
what we have right now.
correct? So just to show you where we're at,
Okay. I didn't understand that, okay, because it doesn't have
It's-
all the normal
right,
verbiage in there about being an ordinance and everything.
right. This is what was adopted mostly in '96, I believe.
Okay,
And it just to illustrate where we're at, there are some restrictions on there, but to highlight, I think the definitions are more robust. The restrictions are more consistent with what's happening around the state, Lee County. It also provides for, variances and,
right, that's why we were flagged, because that was our ordinance, right? Came and got us. Right. That's all the input I have on it. Does anybody else have?
I don't have anything.
Greg? Yeah. Any other comments at all? Okay.
Do you want to make a motion to push this back to council with the suggested amendments?
Correct. This should be a motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I make a motion that we close the discussion on the water shortage ordinances, and we move it up to town council with the only change, from our perspective, is that we harmonize the two water shortage fine structures to match those of the Water Conservation 2010.
2011 should match 2010 and remove the fine structure on 2011.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second. Spilletta
Aye.
seconds.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Oh, no, just kidding.
I have no vote.
Just kidding, yeah, I know. Good, all right, so that carries, 7-zip. We'll move to the next agenda item, creation of water-wise education. You all received the extra files that Chad distributed. One was the PRISM.
Right.
The second was the Southwest Florida Water Management District's 51-pager. And I thought there was a third, but I have only noting here too.
Or three.
Water-wise, South Florida Water Management District, the PRISM, and the rain barrels.
Oh, rain barrels, okay, so,
Last two, the PRISM and the rain barrels were, I think, their town documents are adopted by the town.
correct,
The logo on the rain barrels, it looked like.
right. My impression, PRISM is really more about stormwater management than it is about irrigation and saving water. It was a tool, it seemed like it addressed stormwater more. Whereas the West Florida Water Management with the 51-pager was really more about native gardening, I think, correct? What we want, I think, based on Councilman Beach's input, was a one-pager maybe, mailer?
Just get to the pertinent points when you lower your water bill and how.
Right. So based on that, when I was looking at some of these, I thought maybe one of the best things, something that we could do is to provide a sort of a cost of water events. So you can say, what does it cost you to run your sprinkler for 2 times a week instead of 3 times a week, or you'd have to take average numbers. So an average size lot, an average water amount used, whatever the current rate of the cost of water is, or washing your car, or events,
Flushing a toilet.
flushing a toilet.
Dishwasher versus sink washing. You show dishwasher uses less water.
Right. And you can sort of estimate. I guess you can
Convince
find
yours,
that
I'd
on.
like to convince mine.
There's one, along with that though, add in the aspects of the benefits of native gardening where you don't even use irrigation or very minimally. I wouldn't be against even the fact that any water you're putting on is running reminding everybody it's all running to the water, directly into the water here off the island. Case of washing cars and stuff, and not only you save water, but you're also saving all the chemicals you're using to wash the car going into the canals. My 2 cents. Anybody else put any thought into it? You want it to look like
Well, I
water-wise?
also thought that Mr. Beach was also asking for ways that we could reach out to our rental agencies and the homes and the hotels on ways that we can conserve water while on vacation as well. Am I wrong in thinking that?
That could be a project, I think, but I think initially it was water-wise was targeted for It's rate
full-
increase, I think. That's its initial purpose, but certainly to the businesses too. I think the number 1 and 2 largest water consumers on the island is Shell, I think maybe was the first, and Lanikai was the second.
There's 6,000 people that live here year-round, but then during the season, we have, 1,000, so
50, 60, I think.
50, 60, okay. Well, so we're also looking at, that come here for duration of, a month to 6 months that stay here, and in some ways, they, contribute to overuse of water.
That's probably a pretty good suggestion, though, is an additional thing would be to come up with something you can make the hotels can put in their room. There's lots of places saying,
Oh, yeah, reuse it,
The little
Use
cards that
towels.
say, yeah,
low flow shower heads, low toilets.
mostly they're
Showers are
yeah,
big.
mostly they're focused on people using their towel more than once instead of throwing it on the ground.
We've all seen those, yeah.
it seems like there's I'm thinking about it in terms of a multi-step marketing plan, because that's kind of what we're trying to do, right? Step number 1 is developing the content that says, okay, this is how much water use is equated with this, and this is how you can lower your bill. And then that has to go out to the residents, right, as a mailer or something, so that they all have it and sort of understand that associated with the rate increase. And then there's an education piece that goes for residents, people who can control their natural landscapes. Right? Then it goes to people who are seasonal, right? And then there's a different messaging that goes to those individuals that are tourists. Yeah, tourists or visitors. I think because I think the messaging is slightly different. I think one of the things that, for example, one of the messages I'd like to see included in the seasonal or even visitor pieces, I keep hearing all these stories of people who end up with no one's checking on places that are empty and pipes break. Like there was a house next door to us and we caught it. I think no one's going, the rental companies aren't going in and checking on a regular basis. So how much water was wasted from not only damage that was done to the property, but how much water was wasted because they're not taking the time to do consistent checking of what's going on. But so it feels like the messaging is slightly different based on the audience.
So the biggest users are the hotels?
Single users, yeah, which makes sense.
So you should go after them first, if they're the biggest users. By what percentage? And you go for the big guns first, and then you go down to smaller.
And I don't know if condo associations, do they get individual, are they metered separately, condos? So they're,
Some have individuals, like ours is on 1 meter,
A lot of
So is
them
that-
on 1
32
meter.
units.
okay.
Then they decided, the town caught that and said, we're gonna bill you for 32 individual units, even though you only have 1. They realized they weren't getting that extra, whatever it is, per meter.
So that ranking, I think, is good,
so,
Pink Shell
thought
gets
that was interesting.
one water bill for Pink Shell, because they're all,
Do we know if,
transient.
for example, Pink Shell has something about conserving water, hotel rooms?
I've never stayed over, been in a Pink Shell hotel room.
Or any of
Can't
the
talk
beach
about it, no.
rentals or hotels, do they put something in the room regards to that is something to start with? Is asking them to educate the
It feels like maybe the first, and I don't know if we can ask this of staff, but is to get a more detailed accounting of who the ranking of who uses the most amount of water kind of thing. I like your idea of approaching it from, who's the biggest water users and then who's the tiered pieces. Because I think even if
80/20.
it's multiple units within a condo, the condo HOAs have the power to help educate their people. So instead of us trying to go out and educate everybody, they can be, we can educate them, and then as their people come back into town for meetings, they can then educate them.
You have to normalize it. Can't go after a condo with 1,000 people and compare it to a one-houser.
Right.
You might end up finding out if we divide that out, that they actually are better users of the water than the one houser. Shall, the question should be, are you in the standard limits of what a normal usage in your building, what your occupancy rate would be? And they would have that, times whatever that would be per person per day, and find out, is that normal or are they way above normal? That's how I would approach
Yeah,
things.
hey,
Yeah.
Bill, quick question. So they're gonna be affected by the rate increase as well, correct?
Of course you will.
I mean, more so, let's say, than
Pay
anybody, I
per
suppose.
cubic feet or whatever it is.
You know, I would certainly bet that single-family homes use more water per family,
Mm-hmm.
like a condo when it doesn't, has more
Capita,
control
yeah,
over how
per
they use their
person.
water.
We would win because we're not there 9 months of the year. We got a really low usage rate. It's pretty much
In our
shut down.
neighborhood, 90% of the people aren't there also.
I mean,
So there are single homes that,
you gotta compare this, normalize it
Yeah,
to
but I
per
mean-
capita or per daily usage.
But the thing is, even those who aren't there are responsible for a water bill that they want to keep minimal. So what I'm thinking is, I don't know if we can do a trifold or we need 4. So that one column is going to be homeowners and another column is going to be condo associations and another one is short-term visitors. And maybe the fourth is apartment dwellers, or maybe we can just somehow make it in 3, but somehow one piece of paper that is telling each of these groups what their prices are and what they can do if they want to lower it.
How come one piece of paper instead of 4 different pieces of paper targeting?
Because I want everyone to be able to see, we're all affected by this. You know,
That's a good
you're
point.
only here 1 day or 3 days, and we who are here all year, we're all affected by this. This is what we can do, this is what you can do. Everybody gets the same thing. I don't know if that's doable, but I like it because it's all in one.
Well, if you did it on it this way and did quadrants, you got your four
Right,
places.
something like that. But do we need, I don't know that we need 4 either. I mean, I just came up with this now, Renee. I'm just thinking that whatever groups we want to address, some of the numbers will be the same for each of the groups, but some of them will only be specific. So,
We're targeting the actual owners of the hotels and owners of the property. We're not trying to, where is our target at? Are we targeting the actual people that come for a few months and stay in a house? Or, I mean, it's different ways. If you
All of them,
give
yeah.
a piece of paper to people that are coming for a few months on vacation, I guarantee they're not going to look at that piece of paper. Because they're not. They're on vacation. They're here for a few months. I mean, maybe the people that do care will, but I have a feeling that get your message across to the people that are actually coming here on vacation to have a great time. You gotta give them more of a fun, factual, information. Whether it's coasters, little coasters that you can put in the rental property that people that have fun facts about conserving water. Wash your clothes once a month. Use your beach towels. I mean, just little things like that. Directing that to people that are here on vacation will receive the message paper with that. That's just my thought.
you mean like putting a placard in the rental property?
Yeah,
So
like
it's
for
stuck onto
example,
the
some
refrigerator. They
hotels.
have to see it.
Refrigerator magnets can be
Right.
powerful with
Well,
that
those can be removed, but if it's stuck on there,
sticker.
I travel a lot and I stay at hotels, and some have little, plaques that you can put on the bed that says, serve water, no need for linens, or, I mean, there's lots of little ideas that we can do, but we need to direct message to owners differently than the vacationers or the tourists.
you'd rather see them separate, Jen?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I just think because, think about it. You're on vacation. You get a piece of paper, like a quad, with a bunch of numbers, and this is this. Some people might take it seriously, and then some people will just put it off to the side and say, that's not
Many
my
people
problem,
ignore
you
our
know?
rules, I agree.
I do think specifically, though, what we're looking for here is something to put in the water bill.
Oh, I
So this is specifically the guys who are paying for it. But I think, I don't want to discourage ideas, because maybe working with the hotels and the guys who rent out these vacation rentals, You know, the owners are the ones who pay this bill.
Right.
So educating, there's no hurt for them, some kind of water conservation thing in the, don't already have them. Probably the first step is to reach out to the big hotels. I would bet they already do that.
Right.
They
There's
know it's already,
incentive.
it's already costing them money if they have to, you know, wash the towels every time people go in the pool.
Right.
And talk to some of the vacation rental management companies.
Awesome money. Tier rate system. Certain point, it's a rate, and then you go above that, the rate goes higher, and to go above that, the rate goes. Myers Beach. I understand why we're at this issue, other than a nice conservation of what we can do. A person with water would be like the two number one things that use your water most in a household, other than your lawn, and that would be brushing your teeth and showering and toilets, right? Otherwise, you don't use water.
I mean, what
So,
about,
I mean, the big pictures, 5,000 people could cut their water in half, and you're not gonna put a dent in Lee County water issue. You'll still get a short wattage bill, even though you did your job and cut it in half. I'm gonna change that.
I think either,
That's a bigger picture, that's not our problem, but we can teach people to be better at conserving theirs, but it's not gonna impact water shortage. We don't use enough water in this island to create a water shortage for Lee County.
It seems like from a proposal
more people
perspective,
than 5,000,
step number one, the idea is to put information in the flyer, or it feels like there's a couple things. One, we want more data. Right? We want to know who's using based on, you know, per individual or per unit usage, and who are the big users, right? But I think initially we have to develop a one-pager that goes in the bill, that goes out to everybody.
Right.
That says everything, and I think having that bill flyer saying, this is, you know, the different ways that you know, the different costs and the different ways you can do that, but I don't even know if we have all the data on that.
Don't.
I think one of the big stats though, and I can't remember if it was Phil Flutter, it was in that 51 pager we got from the Water Management District, is that, was it 50% of water is used for irrigation? And by far the largest category is irrigation.
It has to be.
I mean, think about those, I mean, sprinklers are just dumping water 4 times a day, you're not even using close to that inside the house, yeah.
That goes in the homeowners column, because if they stop irrigating, they're gonna cut their water use in half.
Well, that's
If
the
they-
people that are paying the bills, they're the ones that are irrigating also, so.
exactly.
But
You know, that's the idea, but as far as, you know, Greg, a couple things you said, the timing. Where this is coming out with the announcement that the water rates are gonna go up. This is a way to soften that blow to people. The other is, a lot of stuff we do here, we're on the tail end of a lot of things. We redid the fertilizer ordinance because even though the fertilizer that we're putting in the Back Bay, a small contribution of what comes down that river, want to set by example. You want to act locally, think globally. Same thing with the water conservation. We have to do our part, take the high ground on it.
about an ordinance requiring low-flow shower heads, toilets, all of that for all new construction? Or anytime they put in a new toilet, it's gotta be a low flower, and it's, all faucets gotta be a low flow? Like a requirement, I mean,
I think it already is.
is it? I don't know.
yeah, it might be.
It is, no, it is, I know it is.
Okay.
I don't think you can buy a shower head that's not low.
You can take it apart and take it out too, but
Yeah.
but the code is that if you're a plumber licensed, you have to put that in, or you can get fined or even.
Okay.
Right. All right, so let's circle back to really what the objective here, the first one is. It sounds like we may have our own, as a advisory board, our own project to extend this, like you were saying, but the very first thing we gotta hit the check mark, and that is get something together for this rate increase notification,
When does
so.
that go out?
Well, it's not until fall, I think, sometime.
Good, we need a little time. We don't rush ourselves, do we?
Do some research.
Okay, so that particular communication, we said, is gonna be actually mailed. Let's maybe put in the newspaper, you know, if the newspapers pick it up, whatever, but basically it's gonna be mailed, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so are we talking about a trifold, and we wanna talk about things we had just discussed, right? Managing irrigation, all the water-wise issues, use of rain barrels, all those, you know, those how-to-dos, but do we also want to use those examples, make a little chart on where's your water? I mean, a lot of people probably don't even know where their water's going, right? So
Well, and
maybe,
how installing this versus that, or doing this versus that is going to cover this amount. I think you can mirror it off the power company does that. Right? If you
right,
change how you leave lights on and you change your thermostat this many degrees of wattage savings, which is this amount of dollar amount. I think I think it has to be information, and it has to have that sort of how you can change things if the goal is to soften the blow from the rate increase.
and you can't,
And
I mean,
reduce usage.
be honest, you're not gonna have a 6-page document either. It's gonna be very brief, very specific, very direct.
Irrigation is what percentage and how much it costs. Toilets are this, how much it costs.
Typical home, sort of, on the
Yeah.
beach or whatever, do a little bit of research and say, okay, this is,
Yeah.
you know, the easy one to say is, all right, and that bill is $150 a month or whatever, and you realize you're paying 70, 80 bucks a month for irrigation, and it's a pretty, somebody needs to trim some pennies, that'd be a pretty quick way to do it. Pennies, but I mean, to trim their expenses.
I've heard people who water with city waters, it's for $500 a month.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
That's like a lot of people are digging wells or having a well dug.
right.
So it's not $80.
yeah, it's considerable.
It is actually considerable, we don't really water, so.
In your water.
I figure out what we pay, I think it's only $100 a month or something. I use mine on my
Or
boat.
water-wise.
That's right, waste more water than most people probably use rinsing my boat.
Are these our three groups? Individual homeowners, condo associations, resorts, short-term rentals?
For this mail out, I think we only hit residentials.
But one overall, I think, right?
Whoever pays the bill. I mean, because
These are all getting bills, right?
I think all those places will get bills.
These are all gonna get billed. I'm wondering, are these our three categories
Oh, but
that we're gonna address, no?
they all have the same challenges,
So
right?
we all-
Water, they all have this, I mean, more or less the same water usage, irrigation,
Okay.
cleaning.
But if I'm thinking about irrigation, are we, yeah, I guess we all have to.
they're all
Yeah,
kind
condos
of, I mean,
all
they're
have-
all irrigation, they're all washing towels, individual houses versus,
Okay,
So, I mean,
Showering, laundry,
we're all doing that in all the
Irrigation.
different ones, so just have one. Serve by, I mean, and we might want to put irrigation at the bottom because if, well, is this going out mostly to temporaries or permanents? I mean, because,
going out to everyone who has a water
going to the
bill.
property owners.
but if the majority of people getting it don't have control of the irrigation, I don't
Idea
know.
would be if
I-
they're paying the bill, then they have control of it. So this would go
Yeah.
to the property owner. So if you have a rental, $365 a year, somebody else owns it, he's paying the water bill.
that's true, that's true.
If it's a seasonal rental, then the landlord's probably getting the bill, and so they can landscaping for that
Problem is, they'll just rip out everything and put
in rocks.
yeah,
And that's the thing, I
leave
think,
it.
I think they're making one, kind of target thing, and because then you can talk about landscaping and you can speak about native vegetation, and some of the things it says in some of these other brochures, rain gardens, this kind of stuff.
No. Really, our challenge is going to be to distill all that information we have
Right.
into a communication. I mean, it's not tough. Maybe we'll work on that till next meeting and come up with some
Did a quick Google search, and there's some people.
ideas.
Yeah, there's some people out there that have already done sort of pieces of it. Before we reinvent the wheel.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
know, this is all out there. I mean, this has been going on since, the 70s, right?
Yeah. No, it's
Which if you actually Google,
2.5 gallons per minute that you use during a shower.
all that stuff exists. Actually, you can probably Google communication piece that goes with water
That flyer.
rate increase letter. There may be a few. Oh, but anyway, for the sake of time here, I guess we won't finalize it now, but maybe the to-do is to actually go in and put some ideas together and come back and see if we can meld them together. And in the fall, you're saying maybe September, Bill? Does that sound?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, you have enough
So
time
we've
to,
got a couple of meetings, maybe only one more meeting, huh?
sooner is better, because then we have to go and get it in front of council and talk about it too.
So, oh, that's correct. And then who would actually I mean, we all have some mad graphic art skills, but graphic design skills, but would that be something the PIO then would take the materials and say, okay,
You know, I can talk to Roger, but I can't really direct staff.
correct, yeah. That's the resource that would be used in
That
town if you
potential
needed that,
resource.
right? Okay.
We get the material that we want included,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
then
I
we'll go
mean-
from there.
Get the facts, figures, the organization and all that, if, you know,
Get
it doesn't,
charts
I don't,
together,
I don't know if
yeah.
it has to be a, you know, graphic wonder piece.
Images, yeah, put us, you know,
There is
slide
just
deck
a
together
letter.
if you want to. You might
Do we
wanna
need some
that.
information to do this? Do we need, like, water prices, or is that available, is just online?
The new water prices, and I think instead of gallons per hour, we should put dollars per hour.
It's gotta be the conversion factor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that, I mean, people,
good idea.
Thinking dollars and cents, that's
Convert it
right.
to beers, this is the beach.
Yeah.
Right.
This is equating to one night out.
Just star them.
Does anybody know how many gallons of water it takes to make 1 pint of beer?
Yeah, 20 gallons.
You know, Jen,
I had a problem with that
Isn't that
because I
crazy?
just, for a beer drinker, I'd like to let know all you soda drinkers. This comes from Wall Street Journal, probably where this is taken from, the article too. Like 130 gallons make 2 liters of soda. The beer drinkers are way ahead. They're more conservative. Just letting you know facts here.
3 gallons of water to make 1 piece of paper.
500 gallons make a pair of jeans. Jean lovers too out there.
How many gallons does it take to make a gallon of water? It's probably, unfortunately, it's probably 40 or something. All right. Right.
Or for
Think
Takes a lot of
cotton.
water.
Okay, so, we'll move on. If there's anything to vote on. Water rights education, discuss beach driving guidelines.
I think you did a good job on this, Chad.
Thank you, Miss Mary Rose.
Yes, I believe you did too. I think we actually hit the high points. The FWC flyer has way too much text in it.
Yes.
That's not something, that's not something you're gonna put in the break room or near the, the 4x4 shed, the guys to remind looking at it. I mean, the big stuff is to drive on the wet sand, drive slow, away from the dunes and the rack line. Don't run over anything.
Exactly.
And
I like the videos because they gave kind of that biological aspect to it and educated them on the speed.
background,
What's actually
exactly, and that's
happening,
sort of what the FWC flyer does too, try to give the background to it, but the one thing I'll say with those the videos though, is, I mean, they're just reading the slides, actually, it's only a minimum amount that they actually add, it's like what you're not supposed to do is read the slides, you're supposed to let people read the slides and then give them the background to it. So it was a little rough to go through, I'd read it, fast forward and read it. That's great. So this was brought to you, Chad, by, did the town manager ask you to, Plains?
I forget the evolution of it exactly. It was something, I think Roger asked me to either,
I think I brought it up to Roger.
there was issues with county. There may have been an email. He wanted some guidance to Lee County Sheriff's Office. Chelsea asked for guidance to Public Works and Ace as well, just because they're always on the beach. So it was just, we're asking for it, Roger asked for it, so we got it done.
And one thing I think that would be good to add, even though I know you mentioned it in a different way, but is people and specifically children. I found I can jog on the beach and almost plow into a kid who just dashes off in front.
Night before.
So I think that maybe something specific about, watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective in developing that document was the environmental issues. BASE does have a lot of protocols that, both BASE and Public Works have a lot of policy protocols that are not mentioned in there. This was just the environmental perspective, marine resource perspective. There are, a lot more guidance that they give to their guys with how far to stay away from people, children, et cetera, that already exist. And those policies are there. I don't know if our guys are necessarily running on the beach much.
A lot of them are pretty aware, I think, ones I know.
Yeah, I think they are.
Justin, Nello, Jim, all those guys know what's going on. The new beach, I don't think I know them, the blue cart guys.
Those
I know, I
guidelines, I
haven't
didn't want to get the
spoken with
impression that those guidelines are some sort of overall policy. That's just environmental highlights, what's going on during sea turtle season and shorebird season.
Education, yeah.
You have
Well, that's
also
great.
avoid driving on the beach at night. Yeah, I just think that maybe, it seems like during turtle season, it should be order worded.
No driving on the
There's
beach
only
at
one
night?
person that drives at night. That's Chad, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do it.
That's right.
Doing his
You know,
light,
I-
session.
it's it would take 7 days a week to try and walk and get turtle violations.
Yeah, I wouldn't know necessarily, but I know I've been out on turtle walks and see guys collecting trash, a little after 6 in the morning.
At night?
And well, it's in the beginning of turtle season, that's dark. You need their lights on the beach. I think they've stopped that now that,
I think they
ever
do
see
too.
at night or the rakers. Big lights are on sliding. Something those ever.
I think that's, no, I think that's,
No,
Not
they may
during
not do
turtle
that.
season.
Not during sea turtle season.
At night.
Oh.
I don't know about turtles. Really.
They do it during winter. There's too many
They
people on the
shouldn't,
beach for them
definitely
to
should
rake
not
during
during
the day.
turtle season.
no,
That's absolutely not allowed.
that they're raking.
We see a lot of
Ordinance here.
bicyclists with lights on.
At night.
In the morning, it's because I'm out there at 5:30 and bicycles.
Wet sand, dry
Lights.
sand.
Wet sand, pack down sand.
On dry.
I mean, if I, wave them down and give them some information, I do, but occasion they go by pretty quick.
We put avoid driving on the beach at night or before daybreak? What you were thinking about, Bill? Because they were too early?
well, you might got that, if you need lights, then you're probably
That at night is going to include,
beach at the wrong time if you
Yeah.
need lights.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, they should avoid it. There's no reason. I mean, they can,
That's what it says.
you can empty garbage cans
I'm
during
not
the
aware of
day
anybody
in the light.
driving whenever they actually need lights.
No, like I said, I think you're the only person I've ever seen at night on a cart is the night.
I've been apprehensive even in my morning turtle runs. Kind of, was gonna maybe drive, in the morning turtle runs, but I kind of deferred to walk whenever I do my lighting inspections in the morning. And then even though I'm comfortable with doing it, just out of caution.
We need a vote on this?
I don't think so. This was just FYI, I mean, this is a,
Courtesy? Thank you.
If y'all want to advise council on some certain issues, that is y'all's purview, so,
gotcha.
but I'm taking everything in.
Yeah, I think you did a great job on this. Thank you.
There you go.
It's a good time. I think in general you're doing a great job, Chad.
Thank you, Ms. Mary.
You've earned it.
All right, well, let's move on to the next subject here. Should I, Murphy, or should we do the street lighting? Let's actually do the Murphy. Let's do that. So, Good Citizen Award, AKA the Murphy. I think, what did we have? Does anybody have any?
We never wrote a story last month.
Oh, I did, and I sent it to Chad. Did you get it?
Yes, ma'am, that was forwarded.
Okay.
I believe, didn't y'all get her article? Okay.
I didn't get it.
Forwarded to
Oh,
the
no, we got-
newspaper or forwarded to us?
Forwarded to y'all.
Oh, I don't think I got it.
I didn't get it.
Got it.
So I took what you had done with the Murphy, and then I added in a bunch of content about how you can try to be environmentally conscious in the time of COVID when everybody's reverted back to single-use plastics for a lot of different things. So it's a little under, around 425 words kind of thing. But I didn't know, what I didn't know was who I could send it to, if I could just send it to everybody as a shotgun. And then I didn't know who at the paper to send it to.
Well, yeah, I have that information. So directly to me, and you and I can talk all we want. We're not part of the
Okay.
sunshine thing, so anybody who's writing, you feel free to dialogue with me. Well, I'm
Okay.
sorry if that came in and I missed it, but
I didn't send it to you. I sent it to Chad because I knew that that was a safe place to send it. So I will forward it to you, and then we can get it to the paper. Obviously, it didn't go in today. It didn't go in this week, but maybe it can go in next week. And then Chad can, I guess, re-forward it to everybody else so you can see it.
My town email kind of blows up when there's something.
Okay, so that'll be then for the next.
Yeah.
If you can send that, Chad?
Sir.
I mean, you want to go ahead and get another MRF, we can do another story before the,
You can do two, you're saying?
well, like Renee said, we could send this one out next week, it just won't mention the next meeting. And then we'll do another one right before the next meeting. Who wants the right one?
Do that. I think last month we talked about actually creating a list of
Possible topics?
dates for people, and then they can,
Right.
can write what they like. And then, but we do need Murphy. We need Murphy. I mean, we
Linda, yeah, be good to
Murphy
get a Murphy.
award. So let's start with that actually, because we have the one. Would we assign two Murphys then within a month?
Two separate stories, we'll just kind of pretend this one happened before this meeting.
Yeah.
We're gonna play catch up a little bit. If the stories come, play catch up.
Okay. Like I follow you. So
Basically, we'll send the article that I wrote out
Without a
next
Murphy.
week. No, with the Murphy.
Murphy, okay.
Right, but it comes out after the meeting, not before the meeting. And then the next one
I say follow up.
we'll make sure that it
Back in
goes out
sync.
before the next meeting. Because we
Gotcha,
understand the
gotcha.
process better,
Okay.
you and me.
Okay, so does anybody have a Murphy that they'd like to recommend? Citizen Award, AKA the Murphy. Doing the bank, but we're running, we don't want to keep taking deposits out. Or withdrawals, I should say. Two that are in the bank are the turtle mural on the beach house, and the second one. The second one is I have a bird saver, lady from I think it's Edina, Minnesota, that was there with her daughter, and they found a bird and called crow, and I had to take that picture and put it in the bank. That was a little dated, but those are two I have in the bank. We have in the bank. Does anybody recognize anybody?
Wouldn't the bird one be good? Because this is, might be good timing.
Do that.
This was gonna be my question.
Kind of a simple, a little bit of a vanilla story. They found the bird, but they
Good, and
knew
there's,
how to find
there's humans in it, right?
Oh yeah, I got
Yeah,
the
so that's
photo.
the good
Yeah,
thing.
there's two people, mom and daughter.
Yeah.
Got their names. I think I collected their names and their town and saved it.
I had one, but I submitted that for the Mulholland Award, so I don't know if they got it or not. How would I find that out?
The Mulholland is done, I think you sent something, but it was like after
I sent
for
it
the
too late?
Mulholland, yeah. But if that, the Murphy is more of an individual act, and the Mulholland is more for a long-term commitment.
Mine was my neighbors, they called, and then we had ducks that had a duck. They look like a mallard, but they're not.
Yeah, like female mallards, like all
Yeah, we
brown.
run out.
Yeah.
Well, then they start jumping in our pool. So we were fine, that's cool, leave them alone. Then they decided to take off and go up the street and fall down the water head hole. So they had to go and dig them out. Like 5 of them out.
Who did that? The
We
town?
took
Or?
pictures of them, and then the police and the fire department came. They lift the big manhole thing.
You got can you?
Yeah, I
A
took
photo, or
pictures
do you
of it.
have-
Yeah, I took pictures of them and all that, and with the.
Okay,
fire
so we need a
department
photo and just a little brief write-up. You saw what I
could
sent.
give
That
them
was
to you, yeah.
quite
They
wordy.
didn't get the other one. Cool, because they ended up doing it 3 times. That was so cool, he started going up the streets every day, and he found it 2 more times, ducks going down those things.
Really?
It was kind of being a pain to the fire department, but
Yeah, sure. Well,
that's, for some reason, they like going down the street and they falling down there. And that, when they're hatching.
right. You're talking about the gutters, right? The street
Yeah,
drain,
in
the
the
gutters.
street where the water goes down,
Right,
the watershed. And they fit right down there really easy to
Oh, yeah.
the mothers, but
The clowns are down there too, aren't they?
Is this the new stormwater system?
It.
It's the new stormwater system they're in?
Scared death of-
It's in the new stormwater?
Okay, so
I've never had that before.
ward
Startled
The duck.
fish walking by a couple of.
Duck Saviors. All right, so Greg, you're gonna send the
See the pictures, yeah.
picture and, or actually, I guess you gotta send it to Chad and
It's
then,
cool, they brought these big green bags, put in front of it. Stop them from falling down in.
Oh, gotcha, prevent the ducks
So
from
you
going
can
in,
see
but not the
that, the
water.
city has that, so if you have that in your neighbor, you know, you can go get those and you can put them right there.
is it like a straw stuff or whatever it is?
They're
It's like a
bean
boom,
sack,
is
like
what
a
it is.
sand
It's to
sack,
keep
big
the
long green thing.
trash out when they're
Put it
construction.
across and hopefully it's all in there.
Need to vote on it, Steve?
We do. I make a motion that we award the next in-line Murphy Award to the Duck Saviors. All in favor? Or do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second. Spill out of seconds.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so you have to get those actually to Chad. You can't send them to me, right? You gotta send them to Chad.
I don't want to send something right now.
No, but also you need the name, you know, who you're recognizing and know who they are, or the guy that fire department, whatever. So you just need to send that and
I don't
Blair-
know the names of the guy in the fire department, the public, but I know those that did it, yeah.
well, yeah, that's what you want, those two. So if you know their names, then you send their names along, and then
They're my
just
neighbors.
save the ducks from the gutters, I guess, or the stormwater.
Good, so we still have two in the bank.
We do.
Oh,
Two in the
sleep
bank.
well tonight.
Okay. All right, so, now we have to do the, are there dates we should assign? Is that the best way to do this for the stories?
I was thinking about stories, and I'm going with what I was talking about, the vegetation. Australian pines irritate me. They are invasive, and I would like to see them gone. And I think we already have a program where you've been cutting them in many places.
Yeah, so we made a big push in the CWA.
Yeah, because there were several sprouts there.
Right, and they're, you know, I see them on the beach. My plan, I've already talked to Austin, the beach leader, also our harbor master on that, and after nesting season is finished up, contact property owners. Basically wanted to prioritize the dune areas first, and contact those property owners where there's, you know, Australian pines growing in their, you know, beach property, and ask if we can go ahead and remove those. Also, scaevola is also an issue. Scaevola topaca, there's two different kinds of scaevola.
I don't know what that is, Chad.
A lot of people use it for landscaping. It's a beach napuka. It's that long kind of banana, you know.
Oh,
green
okay.
leaf. So taking those, we took those two out of the CWA, still more to do. So prioritize the dunes, and then also, I mean, as you know, some people use them as hedges. Some people, there's some condos on the south end that have big trees that are probably seeding the CWA. Best thing to do is try and get them when they're early and the sprouts, and they're still manageable.
My question is that a good topic for an article in the paper as to why what they are and why we don't want them?
Education-wise, just letting people know these are the bad plants.
Okay, so-
The FLE PPC list, Florida,
How about Brazilian pepper? Do we have that, a problem with that? Like,
yes, ma'am.
if
that
you
is a
write
problem.
something, we'll put them all in one, we'll put the,
Yep, I'd say the top three, category one, or let's go with top four, but I don't see very many carrot woods. Top four would be Brazilian pepper, Australian pines, scaevola, and carrot woods. Those are all category one. Exotics listed on the FLPPC list, which is the Florida Exotic Pest Plant Council.
if you'd work with me, I'd write something about that.
Yes, ma'am, I'd be happy to.
Great.
I have plans to get it up on the website. I need to get a vegetation page going on the website to start encouraging people to, you know, use vegetation permits for protected trees, for native, you know, dune vegetation, et cetera. Try and get some oversight on that, as well as to try and encourage or educate people on what are the exotic plants. To educate people on those, on what are the bad plants, and knowing's half the battle.
Well, that's an article, and maybe more than one article. It might be 2 or 3, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I like the beach botany article that the Sandpaper does. They're doing the native. Maybe
Yep.
we can pick an exotic that we see and start. And
Educate on one at a time. Say, do something on the Australian pines one week, and then do something on the, this is a new one for me, Scarabola?
Scaevola, yes, ma'am.
Scaevola.
Beach Napuka. This is from Hawaii, and basically, and also really educating people. There's a native species, and then there's a inkberry is native, so it has the blueberries, and then the beach Napuka has the white berries, bigger leaves.
Good. So we've got a series of articles there if we choose. And I'm also thinking that we can do something on dogs on the beach, because it's not like we don't like dogs on the beach. We love dogs. But I think we should explain to people why we want them to follow certain rules about it. I think that's another article. And then I have this questions that I get time after time after time are the tuna kits that came up on the beach. I think we just might inform people, what are those big blobs? They call their tuna kits, and explain what they are and blah, blah, blah. And then also the parchment worms. That's the next major question that I get. So I think any of those topics.
Good.
Tales from the Rack Line.
Oh,
that's a
good
great
idea,
title.
yeah. Yep.
Great title.
Those are my thoughts.
For that series, right? All right, so I might as well just sign you up for the rest of them. What I'd hope to do right now is actually, we've got a second one for July, let's call it, right? And then we've got an August meeting, let's say, right? Because they usually go right before the meeting or the week before.
Right.
September, October, November, December, so that'd be 7. Already including you as having done July version 1. So we'll assign people to each month. We're ready to go. Let us know what the topic will be at the meeting before you do it, and then we know not to duplicate. Sound reasonable? So July, you say you're going to do the
Sure, I'll do
next one?
Australian pines.
Those Australian pines, all right. You don't have to know what you're going to write about yet, by the way, because I don't know yet.
I really want to do this, especially if Chad's going to help me.
And one last question from Bill is, how many words, or maybe Renee's fresh? How many?
Anywhere between 600 and 800 words,
600, 800
not
words,
counting
okay.
the Murphy thing.
Okay. That's not including the blurb that goes with the Murphy? Okay.
I combined those two together, so you may want to add to that article.
You usually don't have a problem if it's too low. And I've been a little wordy at times.
Used to my being limited on what I can say.
All right, and then we'll work on due date, I guess, actual submissions, or submissions process, but too. August, do we have anybody that'd like to do it in August?
Do it in August.
August. About September?
Do September.
September, okay. October? I'll do October then. November?
November. I'm gonna do the dog etiquette one.
Want to do the dog leash one?
Because I did it,
Okay,
just have to
man.
go from
Rinse and repeat, right?
20 words, I gotta go to 600-800?
Yeah.
20
My wife to worry about it. She's
600.
really good. I
That's
do
all
all
actually-
my writing.
Each dog etiquette, all right?
I write like a visit doctor, probably worse than
right.
his.
Excellent.
Can't even read my.
All right, and then December would be you, Greg?
All right, how about on boat speeds? Most people don't know about
That'd be a good time
Yeah.
one too.
what idle is,
Informative, right.
what slow is.
Right.
know.
No,
And especially
no
around the
wake
holidays,
meetings,
as
what
everybody's
slows
Right.
you down.
Yeah.
Like it. Mine's to be determined.
Mine
Let's
too.
see what's hot. Rolling in, right?
Let me know if anybody wants me to help, too.
Well, December will be right
All
after
right.
the boat speed.
I'm gonna do mine on garbage,
I don't know where I put my stuff.
beach garbage.
Yep, okay, so, voted on to Murphy, that's good to go. Last item here on the agenda, current items, is the request for proposal of Staro Street lighting. Did y'all get a chance to read that?
Only thing I found, we're not included in the kickoff meeting.
Yeah, that seemed, well, not the cook-off.
Right. We are here in the proposal, but we're not in the kickoff meeting, task 1.
You're talking about the PAC? We also don't have a member in the PAC, which was brought up.
They listed everybody's going to be there.
Well, yeah, that's actually talking about the PAC, the Public
Yeah.
Project Advisory Committee. Correct, yeah, that was brought up. Actually, I watched the Safety Committee also was asked to comment on this too. Jim Goggin, the chair there, had, that's one of the first things he brought up and suggested that the MRF should be in the PAC. Had mentioned that, you know, that the Turtle Time was already in it. Chelsea did say they're one and the same, which I kind of take exception to because they're not, you know, there's other things that MRF needs to watch out for. Birds, marine life, you know, bats, feeding bats, foraging bats, the whole thing, insects. So you're suggesting that we had we have a member in the PAC. I would agree 100%. Because we're also, obviously, we're contributing to this, and we're also being presented to once the 30% plan is, I think, done. One thing, actually, John Goggin mentioned, public safety, is to make sure that the integration of the base of the bridge project design is considered also for future development. So at the base of the bridge, FDOT's already stated that that'll be wildlife. That's a wildlife sensitive area, and they'll follow FDOT wildlife sensitive area lighting for that area. So I think that's important. I think also that the bridge, the Mantanzas Pass Bridge project also, right now, I don't know, there's a question about how it's zoned. That very well could be wildlife lit as well. So kind of a project harmonization, you'd want that same look as you come over the bridge into town. They're right here. Mention that. As a member of PAC, we should from Human Resource Task Force on the PAC. I also agree with John. He had mentioned that there should be a public meeting. You know, maybe at the kickoff and maybe at the 30%. Something that with Bayside that didn't go very smoothly. There wasn't a lot of, you know, some of these projects that are rolling out now really didn't, and I think part of that's because of the virus and the lack of meetings and getting together, but there should be a stakeholder meeting to sort of let people understand what's coming or what the ideas are.
A stakeholder meeting before.
Well, more of a public meeting than, well, stakeholders, you know, public, obviously. So yeah, to let them identify which way the consultant is going. I mean, this RFP, I think they were misunderstood also during public safety, and that they thought that the consultant was going to be a vendor. This RFP is to actually get a consultant engineer who then works with everybody. They don't have a stake in the game. They're not representing a vendor or anything. So they were worried about a conflict of interest. I don't think that exists. The way this is written, what they're after. The idea is once they formulate an idea of what some of the options are, they should present it to the public at some point. Example might be a 2-light system, a dimmable system, a single luminaire type system, I don't know, decorative poles if they go that way. Using FPL's poles if they go that way. 'Cause, 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 But also, they'll be choosing, the nice thing about this also is what wasn't part of that original MPO study was the crosswalks. Again, they want a comprehensive plan that also includes all the crosswalk lighting too. So the entire length of the island, even from Bowditch down to Islands End condos down there. That's going to include all crosswalks, all lighting, period. So I think from that perspective, you might have people giving feedback on crosswalk safety items that they select. So that was a suggestion. I would agree with that. One thing public safety said is that they felt like the presentation, one of the purposes of this is then to present to the town what this solution should be. I mean, again, the way this is written is that we get a consultant that's going to follow all these guidelines, the FDOT, FWC, FDEP, come up with a solution for the town. So they thought maybe that there would be rating to say this solution is a 6 for public safety, but a 9 for wildlife, and maybe a 2 for cost. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the public safety is exactly that in wildlife lighting has no, I mean, there's amber lighting, for instance, is as safe as white lighting. The only difference is that you don't have color recognition. It may have something to do with what kind of striping or colors they use for crosswalks, but outside of just safety, there's no difference in safety whatsoever. About, you know, amount of lumens, and it's very scientific, really, how to light up an area. My input, by the way, you guys all have. Well, I'm assuming. Maybe. But yeah, the consultant should propose one plan that optimizes everything depending on the laws and the guidelines that they have to work with and the products they have to work with. Anything else? Yeah, the other thing was under task 7 here, when they do the final submission to town too, they should actually present that or get feedback from both the Public Safety Committee, I think, and Marine Resource Task Force. That's input. I'm assuming that maybe Chelsea will watch the video of this meeting and take our submissions.
Yeah, I'm taking notes and
Okay.
Go through it again. And, yep, that was her ask, that somebody down y'all's comments and feedback on that. One thing I did notice in the background that it didn't mention the disorientations that lights have caused.
Right, yeah, that's the next thing I was going to come to. John had brought that up. He'd like to see assessment of the disorientations, but I think that's...
I don't know if we need a quantitative assessment, just a qualitative.
Well, the problem is that how many lights, prior to the start of turtle season, how many lights did you have on your list to FPL to turn off?
I think it was on the order of 50 or so.
50, and we have actually, I think it's only 110 or so street lights total, so 50% of them are off.
There's more, you know, there's others out there that are arguably still visible.
Right,
Yeah.
but those, I think the point that John was making is that he wanted sort of to overlay areas that had disorientations over the new plan to say, will this solve those? And the point is that those are already off, so those aren't causing disorientations. The ones that currently cause disorientations are the ones that you see now, year over year, depending on how the foliage is, you see different lights from the beach, I think. So that's something I think that we could ask, you know, the turtle people to provide, but I'm not sure that it would do what he needed it to, and that was to overlay it over whatever new plan there would be. Follow my reasoning?
Yeah, I was thinking something more simple, you know, just the fact that these lights, you know, along Estero caused or have caused disorientations, just to have that as a justification
Put it
for
on file.
background. But I
Yeah,
think, I think it's-
that all exists. That all gets reported to the state, so that all exists, all that data. So that's something we can probably have the consultant request.
Wasn't sure if the scope of this project included the beach access, the lights around the beach accesses along Estero.
That's an excellent question. Yeah, anything I would say west of Estero Boulevard should be considered. What you're talking about, the beach accesses, yeah.
I mean, Sterling, we all know,
Yeah, that
there
caused
are other beach access issues.
There's a number of them, actually. I think Gulf has some that are on the western part of Estero, and different accesses that have the LEDs on them.
And that established list that FPL needs that they turn off.
Well, those are turned off, right? And I think to be safe, you can't possibly install a system where you have to turn a light off. 'Cause when that photometric plan comes, it's made to have every luminaire on in order to provide the safety that you want. Now, the minute you turn one off, then the plan is what we have now, which is half of the lights are turned off during the turtle season. So I would agree that anything that is turned off should be considered in the plan, right? Specifically those that are west of Estero Boulevard. Beach side of Estero. Make sense? You guys following us?
What if you can see on the other side the lights from the beach? I mean, there's that too.
Yeah,
think
there's
it
a
should be-
number. I don't know what the quantity is that are street lights, not that are home lights.
Right, so it's just, this is more just discussion, not necessarily, just,
Right.
it's not included in that scope.
Correct.
When I was, going and doing my assessment, driving down all the streets, hey, can I help you? And, I just explained to him, hey, I'm just doing that. And he's like, I had to buy a blackout curtain in my bedroom because this, white LED light has been installed here in the last year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But that's not in this scope.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm wondering, how extensive the scope needs to be versus, is that something that the steering committee would provide as part of the input?
You just give it as a comment to Chelsea and
Yeah, okay.
address it.
Consider that on the record then, right? Any other lights that are not only on Estero?
Only on Estero? There are some lights, street lights that you can see from
That's what I'm saying, no,
the rack
these are
line.
to include those that are not only on Estero, yeah. I mean, clearly the ones that are, like I said, west of Estero, of each side, like the access roads, only have to be considered. One of the things that Councilman Allers had suggested during the public safety meeting was, can they see some kind of a visual demo of some of these lightings, different light types? Specifically so that people maybe understand what the light temperature is, what lumens are, things like that. They've talked about maybe a video of some kind, but depending on your, as he had mentioned, your screen resolution and whatever, your light's going to be different. So I don't know how that would be managed, but more for maybe part of the public discussion.
Might also be but if you were looking for an article, talking about some of this, upon the timing of when all of it starts to click in and starts to change, that might be a good article for you to write, so that people understand why we're having this conversation, why we're talking about changing lights. There's, no one's going, well, all of a sudden there's this expense, and why is this expense important? Just as from an education perspective. It's a flat, not interactive content, but it might be helpful to start educating people why we're doing it.
Right, and some of it's legal. I mean, the FDOT now has wildlife lighting as well, so they've recently had regulations as well, so.
I doubt that that's common knowledge for most people.
No, yeah. Interesting thing is that a lot of them have approved product lists, so the FWC does wildlife lighting, turtle lighting, FPL has their own approved product list of amber luminaires. FDOT has their own approved list. I think something that needs, maybe, I don't know if it needs to be put in here, but I think any of these, if the consultant engineer actually finds a luminaire that's not on an APL, I think that we need to get them to put it on the list, and I think they'd be willing to do that, any of these organizations, if you actually come to them and tell them to put it on. And one of those, I think, would be FPL, because as you know, FPL wouldn't allow you to put your own lights on their poles. It has to be their product, and they do have a couple, but they don't have nearly, but I would think they should have as a, as a supplier of getting electricity to municipalities.
More than two choices, right?
Yeah, so I think that's something that you would give the consultant the okay to actually look for the very best product as far as the luminaire, the lighting itself, and then determine what it would take to quickly put it on an approved product list so that they can, it'll be all right with whatever it is, the FDOT or FWC or whatever, as part of their approved product list. Some input too. Anybody else?
You
job,
did a
Steve.
good job of covering it.
Yeah.
Good job. I don't have anything to add.
All right. I think that's it then, unless, do we need to actually designate a member? If we're suggesting they should have a member, or do you wait until they say, okay, yeah, we will put a member of MRF on the PAC as well?
I think Chelsea was looking for comments at this stage.
Okay.
But I think that's something we
I
can.
don't think the public safety assigned somebody yet either, so I don't have to vote on anything.
I would assume if it comes up, it probably falls on the chair.
Something comes up, did you say?
If it does, if something happens in the interim,
Ah,
usually it falls to the chair.
okay, I can answer anything.
Will you accept it then, Steve?
If they invite me, I
Okay,
suppose, yeah.
good.
Yeah, I would go. Sure. No other, oh, I had one here. Where do I find, is this on our website, the Fort Myers Beach Streetscape Master Plan? Have you ever heard of that?
I can get Chelsea to send it and we'll forward it to y'all.
That's kind of a separate document. I don't think I've seen that. And I'm guessing that's a long-term, it might be a 10-year-old document or something. That's one of those vision plans, or is that a new plan?
Master Streetscape?
Yeah. Myers Beach Streetscape Master Plan. There's one typo. The catalog, it just says catalog.
Page is that on?
It's on page 2. Under task 5, maintenance of light fixtures, third line down. Says, sales existing inventory, comma, or they are not listed in their approved catalog. It should be catalog. Product catalog. Anybody else? Can I close that agenda item? Close 6, we're not doing too bad, I guess. All right, so member items and reports. Start with Jennifer.
Yes.
Any items or reports?
Well, I was just thinking about, educating the visitors and be working on something that hotels and vacation rentals can help educate the visitors on green water.
You, Sarah?
No concerns or
Somebody's hollering at you or anything? Or now they know you're on the board, they're
Yeah.
screaming at you. The seaweed. No,
Yeah.
sorry, can't do that. Hey, Rose?
No, I have nothing to add right now. Thank you.
Rose. All right.
Thing at this time.
Okay. Greg?
Yeah, I'll be out August and September. While
Pat? I know,
I come back, we'll see.
we're in Quebec,
See,
provincial park.
it's still red down here, I may be staying up there in the cabin.
Yeah,
No.
Quetico, yeah.
What day does the August meeting fall on? Because I may have to be out on that one as well.
I don't think I have that. Maybe look, somebody have it?
August would be
Did you
the
say it was 12?
The 12th.
Second Wednesday.
Mine too, look at that. When he sends it, it's stupid.
We'll be
He
out
sends the meeting
for
request.
the August meeting.
Be gone, did you say?
I'll be gone for a week. Diving trip.
Right, well, that's worthy.
Nice. Where are you going?
I'm, Alvarado. I need to talk to you after the meeting to see if you can cover me. Sure. Okay, thanks.
All right. We move it to public comment?
We're up to 109 nests, so
112.
112.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Or 12.
apparently.
Used to be a steady 2 a day.
Woohoo.
When do you think the first one's gonna hatch?
We already had the
Yes, it
hatching.
has.
We had a hatch?
We've had 2 hatchings.
And
1, I believe.
one hatch?
Yeah, I think 1
this
is up in
morning?
10, zone,
And 6.
Best Western.
yeah. And 6 hatched. 6 was the first to hatch.
Best Western hatch?
It did, yeah, that was on day 1.
I want to mention one thing, Steve.
Still yellow markings there.
Yeah, we
They leave them up there.
leave them up for, a while, and
Maybe
then
a later-
after we
late
dig it, we wait for 3 days, and then dig it up, and then we'll take them down. We dig it up so we can count the shells and see how many made it out.
First,
Usually it's
announcement.
70, 90 days, right?
It's 60 days, but it's been a little bit
warm it
longer
is,
this time, yeah.
There's a thing that the DEP does, and I guess it's a whole series of show about it called Flip My Yard.
Really?
Heard about that?
No,
No.
Apparently they'll go through, and there's a program out now where they're going to flip 10 yards, I guess all over Florida for free if you apply for it. They go through and they take nasty invasive yards and they'll turn them into native.
That's the
friendly native yards.
DEP doing that?
It's just Flip My Yard, if you do Flip My Yard DEP Florida. And I'm bringing it up because, maybe it's something we can think about doing as a promotion here for native plants is
Mm-hmm.
give you a lower cost. I imagine it's fairly pricey, or just, if the town council wants to cough up for 1 yard and have a contest and see who the yard flipped.
That might be a good
Very
article,
cool. When does
right?
that start, Bill? Do you know? Are they?
They're applying it now. They're applying for the 10 now, but I think that if you go on to like even Amazon Prime, find it as
Okay, that's what I'm wondering. Can I watch it already?
yeah, just to get an idea. I haven't even watched one, but just, look at it, and if it gets any ideas, we can talk about it.
Excellent.
Some of those shows, like the beach house bargain hunters, you actually buy the house, do you buy it and have to have already bought the house, and then they film it on the after side? So there might be a way to have people who are looking to make those changes, have the people come in and tell them what to do, and have the homeowner pay for most of the costs.
Very cool. All right. Oh, good idea, Bill. Put that right there. Parking lot. So next item here is a public comment. Nobody's here, so we'll move on to set agenda for next meeting. And we've got creation of Waterwise, is that right? Waterwise. Education. We got the Murphy, obviously. Articles. That's a pretty slim agenda there.
I think we came up with all these projects. We came up with that big list of projects to send to town. I feel like that needs to be on the agenda to decide what the priorities are and to start tasking them out.
All right, prioritize, what
Can we
was the
do that,
terminology
Chad?
we
Can
used,
we
our
do
goals?
that, Chad,
Yeah, I
before
think I
Ken
can-
says something?
I can send the list to y'all, prioritize goals, and then deciding who's going to present to council for direction.
Good.
There's a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they probably all won't get done right away, so it's a priority thing.
Can we invite Austin to the next meeting and actually kind of tackle that?
I will ask
He's available?
I will ask him and his boss if he's available. This is, he gets up pretty early, he's out there pretty early. Some days he's diving. It may depend on his schedule, but I have notes on your questions regarding pump outs and derelict vessels, and I know he already has answers on those, so I can also just get some feedback on that and provide it to y'all as well.
Is that,
There's a lot of nuances, as y'all know, with that.
is that something we want to put on the agenda then?
Me get some feedback and see if he's
Do
going
you
to be
have
available.
info? Okay.
Can we be flexible on our meeting time so that we could accommodate him? I mean, is that a possibility?
Can ask.
Or are we tied to this 3 PM on Wednesday?
I'm not.
I don't-
By any stretch, no, I'm pretty. So,
If I know enough in advance, I can just go around. Easier for him.
so
Yeah, whatever is
really, that's all we
convenient
have.
for Austin.
That's all I've got, unless you have some new items too brought to you, Chad. And the to-dos, one item before we adjourn. To-dos I've got here, Greg is gonna send that Murphy stuff to Chad. We're all gonna come with, already done? Good. Ideas for the water-wise, we wanna come with some kind of constructive ideas to try to narrow down exactly what we wanna provide. The next month newspaper article, which is going to be Rose,
Right?
and I've got here also Chad to send Renee's article to whoever didn't get it. I know I didn't get it.
Yeah, I could have sworn I forwarded it, but it doesn't look like I did. I apologize.
So, all right,
It's all good.
that's all I've got. So, if there's nothing else. Meeting's adjourned.
You have to move.
We got to move.
You
Okay,
have to move.
I'll make that move.
all right. I'll move over here. I make a move that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. I'm gonna stay here all night. Just kidding, it's unanimous, 7-0, adjournment.
Hey, do you ever get pictures of those turtles when they come out? You ever put a little camera box out or anything?
Nighttime, no. But if you go online, go online, go to turtletime.org. And there's videos there.
I've seen some other ones from a long time ago.
One guy put a game
1
camera
hour?
out,
From
leather badge.
They were
Oh my
wildlife
God.
certified.
I'm up early in the morning just to see what they've
Ever
done.
talk to Andrew? He'd
Right.
probably set up a